Hey everyone, it's Cher and this is Share and Tell. In this video, I'll be giving you my review of the Dark Girls 2 documentary and my experiences as a dark-skinned girl, so stay tuned. Okay, so I just finished watching the documentary and I have to say, it's not as heavy as the first one. Saw the first one a while ago. I think I watched it a couple times and it was not as heavy as the first one. I felt like the first one was real, like, whoa, you know, one girl was talking about bleaching her skin with actual bleach. That one was deep. They were talking about the sexualization of dark-skinned women and, you know, all the different struggles that dark-skinned women go through, and it was deep, really deep. I felt like this second one was a little bit lighter. It was more of a continue the conversation, but let's move on to healing kind of vibe. That's what I got from this one. They were still talking about their struggles. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they didn't talk about it in this one, but I felt like the first one was a lot heavier. So this was definitely like, hey guys, just so you know, this is still a thing. Just reminder, hi, this is still a thing, but you know what? Here's how we can heal. And that's the vibe. So, of course, I have my notes because I know for a fact, I know for a fact I was not about to remember everything. So put on my glasses and let's get started. I'm not going to do a play-by-play like I did with the Drew Hill one, just main points that I appreciated. So there was a spotlight part. I don't know if it was part of the main episode or if it was just an extra video, but there was a man who was speaking about his own self-esteem issues with dark skin because of his dark skin. And I thought that was interesting because we don't really hear a lot of conversation about dark-skinned men feeling some kind of way about their complexion. Usually it's the women who are talking about feeling bad about their dark skin. And as a matter of fact, dark skin is viewed as masculine. It's viewed as attractive on a man. So I was surprised to hear that. I was like, wow. I was excited to see a man talking about this. And I've heard a couple dudes, you know, that I know personally mention this, and it always surprises me because I said, really? But they do talk about that, you know, they struggle with their dark skin. And I believe it because colorism affects everybody. You just don't really see it out there. You don't really see the men talking about it as much, but it's real for both sexes. So he said that the way that he was able to embrace his skin color was Ebony magazine, seeing men who look like him on Ebony magazine and Jet magazine. And so this shows how representation matters. It really, really does. When it comes to your self-esteem, when you see other people who look like you, who are in respected positions, you're like, oh, wow, okay, maybe I can be something one day. You know, maybe, you know, I do have the potential to be something great because you see it. You see the representation. They talked about slavery, you know, how a lot of the black people came from Africa, and then they showed you the different routes, how they ended up in North America, South America, and they showed you the Middle Passage. And I thought that was great because in America, when we talk about slavery, it's almost like the way they talk about it, it's like the slaves were only brought from Africa to the United States. And that's not how it happened. They were brought from Africa to both the Americas. So there are descendants of slaves in North America, South America, Latin America, all of that. The whole Western world has descendants of slaves. So I like that because many times people don't think of other countries being part of that slave trade, but they definitely were, right? And then, so I liked how one woman said that language was taken away, culture, all those things were taken away. And the only thing that the slaves had that tied them to their heritage was their skin color. I was like, ooh, that's deep. I never thought about it like that. So basically you take me away from my country, you take me away from my family, you take away my freedom, you take away my language, you take away my culture. The one thing that ties me back to my ancestors is my skin color. and you can't even let that be great. Oh my goodness, that lady dropped bombs. I wish she had a mic, because she shouldn't have dropped it. She should have just thrown it. I mean, and whoever it hit, it hits. Whoever it hits, it hits. That was an amazing statement. I was like, wow. And then so they talked about white supremacy, but it's nothing that we don't already know. We've always known that that's where colorism comes from. But one thing one of the ladies said was white supremacy started with rape. And I was like, wow, I never ever thought about it like that. But she was saying once the slave masters started raping the slave women and creating this new class of people, that's where the whole colorism situation came about. And I was like, I never thought about it like that. And she also said, as a black woman, no matter who you had your child by, it was going to be a slave, whether it was by your black slave husband or your white slave master, it was going to be a slave regardless. So it was like, what hope is there? No matter what child I give birth to, we still stuck in this situation. I thought that was interesting. They also brought up a Straight Outta Compton casting call. That was controversial because in their casting call, they had A, B, C, D girls. And it was a big deal because the B girls were light-skinned girls. They wanted girls, I even think I saw real hair in there. They wanted the girls to have a certain complexion. But the D girls were dark-skinned girls. And so they were looking for they had a certain look in mind for roles and characters and things. And that was what they were looking for. And that was a big deal. That was controversial at the time. One girl made a comment. She said that she was waiting for some folks, that we have to wait for some folks to die in order for all this mess to go away. I thought that was a deep statement. I was like, wow, we got to sit here and wait for all these folks to die off so that colorism can no longer be a thing. I see where she was coming from, but it's not that simple. It is not that simple, because those same folks that you could be waiting to die, they have children and grandchildren and great grandchildren that probably think exactly as they do. So even after they die off, there's still more generations coming up that think just like they do. So that is not as easy as it sounds, as simple as it sounds. They also mentioned that in some high school, a teacher had the kids grow up, line up from darkest to lightest. And then if you had nappy hair, you were in the back of the line. If you had straighter hair, you were in the front of the line. What? I ain't never heard of this. I was like, oh my goodness, that's wild. And then it says that one woman, oh my goodness, they didn't give all the names of these people. So I'm sorry if I'm calling them girl and woman. I didn't get everybody's name. But this one woman, she said how she was always afraid to be the loudmouth dark-skinned girl because people don't like dark girls being loud. And I was like, wow. But then she goes, but if they're lighter skinned, it's okay. And I see exactly what she's talking about, because the complexion of your skin does determine what people consider acceptable character traits. So being dark, if you're loud and outspoken and you stand your ground, you're loud, you're ghetto, you're ratchet, you're extra, you're all those things. But a lighter skinned woman would be considered, oh, she's just being assertive, she just wants things her way, she is just spicy, people really say those things. And I never thought about it like that, but I could see where she was coming from. Depending on your complexion, people expect different character traits from you, and you're labeled different things. Same exact personality, same exact ways of handling things, but because you're of a different complexion, what you're labeled is different. Okay? All right, and then we have one girl who says that her mother was lighter than her, and she thought that she would get lighter as she got older. Like, for some reason in her child mind, she thought as she got older she would get lighter, and when that didn't happen, she was so disappointed. And one woman said that when she was a kid, a woman walked up to her, and she was with her mom, and a woman asked, why is that kid so black? I'm like, oh my goodness, people really do that? Y'all wildin'. And So one woman says that she was out with her daughter. This is a different mother-daughter story. And the woman says, oh my goodness, this girl is so beautiful. What's the father? Is the father mixed? And she's like, what? She's like, yeah, what's the father mixed? Look at her hair. She's a beautiful dark-skinned baby. And then she's like, the father is black. What do you mean? Excuse me? Like, people are extra bold. Like, I would never say something like that. It'd probably be something I would probably be curious. I'll think about it, but I would never open my mouth and say that to somebody. That's crazy. And then you have one girl that says that she didn't think she was, she says she didn't think she was pretty until college. So imagine you're starting college, 18 years old. This is the first time in your 18 years of life that you actually felt pretty, because she said guys were trying to talk to her in college. And then they also featured an assistant principal who says that she talks to her daughter all the time, and she makes sure that her daughter knows that she is beautiful. And she also makes sure that her students know that they're all beautiful too, no matter what race they are. And then they go into talking about bleaching, which they also talked about in the first one. They were in Ghana a lot for this episode, which I appreciated, because I love seeing the what things are like on the other side of the world when it comes to this colorism issue. And then one woman said that in Ghana, it's almost becoming tradition that 3 months before the wedding, you bleach your skin. You want to make sure, because you want your skin to look nice and bright or even white for your wedding day. And then there was a beautiful poem at the end that the poem was gorgeous, was beautiful. Okay, so now let me talk about my experiences growing up as a dark-skinned girl. So basically, my parents are two different complexions. My dad is really, really dark. He's much darker than me. And my mother is lighter than me. She's not what I would describe as light-skinned, but she's definitely lighter than me. So I became a combination of the two. And when I was a kid, I used to look at my mother and just be like, why couldn't I be as light as her? Why couldn't I have her complexion? I was so jealous of my mother. And it didn't help that everybody kept telling me how much I look like my dad, because that made me even more upset and more depressed. Like, no, why do I look like him? I'm not that black. That was my attitude. And I remember being a kid, and I remember I just wanted to be light so bad. I realized that whenever I washed my face with soap, my face would look a little bit lighter. So I said, you know what? If I wash my face with soap 10 times a day, I might be light skinned. So you know what I did? I took the soap 10 times a day and I was washing my face. I did once, wash it off, and I felt like I was happy with what I saw. So then I would go back and do it again. And I did it 10 times and I saw my face was looking lighter. Little did I know I was just drying my skin out, but I didn't know that. I just thought that my skin was getting lighter and I was happy about it. And so I did continue doing that for a little bit, but then I gave up on it. I was like, whatever, it's too much work. But I used to play my mother's makeup because my mother is a lighter complexion than me. I would take her makeup and, put it on because I wanted to look light like my mother. And I used to play in her makeup when she was at work and, just trying to get that feeling of, oh my goodness, I'm pretty. I struggled for a long time with my complexion. My mother also had some lightening cream, those little creams that are for fades, just spots on your body that you want to fade away, some dark spots and everything. And I took that and I started using it on my face. And I remember I was at school. This was in 7th grade. I was at school and somebody was like, what's wrong with your face? And my face started peeling. On this side. I will never forget. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's that stuff I've been using. I didn't want to tell them I was using fading cream. So I just was like, oh, I don't know. I guess it's, just played it off. But really, I was trying to get lighter skin. And so I went and I stopped using the cream because I was like, okay, I do want light skin, but I'm not about to have my skin peeling. I'm not doing that. Then in 8th grade, I saw an ad for this line by Dr. Palmer's. Dr. Palmer's had a line called Skin Success. That's what it was called. And it promised to give you brighter skin, and your skin will look better and brighter. And I said, oh my goodness, I have to have this. So I went to my mom and I was like, Mommy, I want this. I showed her a picture of it. And she said, okay. So I don't remember if we went together or if she went and bought it and brought it to me. I don't remember. But she got me the lotion and she got me the soap. And I was using the soap every day. I was using the lotion every day. They did not smell good. They did not smell that great. But in my head, if this is going to make me lighter, then so be it. But one day I just was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I really remember I was putting the lotion on, and first of all, I didn't see a difference. So already I was annoyed with that. But then just the commitment it took to be using this soap and this lotion over and over again. And then trying to get my mom to buy some more. And when this one is done, I got to ask her to buy me some more. I think I had a moment where I just said, you know what? It is what it is. This is also the same year. That was 8th grade. This is also the same year that I started getting stretch marks on my arms. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm trying to lighten my skin. Plus I got these stretch marks showing up on my arms. It's too much. I said, whatever. It's going to be what it's going to be. My color is my color, the end. The stretch marks are going to be where they're going to be, the end. Like, I just was so over it. I was like, this is me, the end. So throughout high school, I never tried to bleach my skin ever again, but I still was really self-conscious of my skin color. The girls I would see in high school, all the ones that got attention from the guys, they were light skinned, or the dark skinned girls that were getting attention, they were usually like the girls that were like super easy, the girls that was being passed around. And I did at times have guys try to holler at me, but I already knew, I'm like, okay, I know you don't think I'm pretty, so you looking for something else, and I'm not about to be the one to give it to you. So I never really had guys looking at me. I never had guys interested in me. I never had guys looking my way, unless it was to run game or, just to joke around with their friends. And I tell y'all, I struggled. There were days I would go to bed and just cry about it. And the first time somebody actually called me pretty and was genuine about it, like a boy, I was a senior in high school, 17 years old. Senior in high school. That was the first time somebody called me pretty and they were actually genuine. I didn't believe him at first. I'm like, man, this boy just trying to talk junk, blah, blah, blah. But he was serious. He was like, oh my goodness, I think you're so pretty. And I was like, really? Like, I was so deep in my self-hate. I just couldn't accept a compliment whenever somebody called me pretty. I just couldn't do it. And that boy he was serious though. And then now college rolls around. College is a different world. I just seen so many confident, dark-skinned girls. They were just dressed head to toe, looking good. And I was like, oh my goodness, like these girls are really like looking good and they're the same color as me. And why can't, upgrade and look like that? Man, like college gave me so much confidence. But I still found myself looking for representation in the media. So I noticed that there weren't a whole lot of dark-skinned girls on TV. And, the women that were representing Black women were always either biracial, racially ambiguous, light, bright women. You didn't really have a whole bunch of dark-skinned, brown-skinned women on TV like that. So it's been a rough journey for me. I mean, if I was to give every single detail of my experience as a dark girl, I would never be done with this video. But fast forward to this point in my life, I am so over the self-hate. I don't feel any kind of way about my skin color anymore. I love my complexion. I think it's so beautiful with no matter what color I put. Any color I put against my skin just pops. I love my complexion in the sun. I love the way I look. And in the summer, I get a little bit darker and I love the way it looks. I love my color. And I think that also comes with me having a relationship with God, just appreciating all of his creation. And I am one of his creations. I am. He took his time making me, constructing the DNA and the genetics that were eventually passed down to me. And here I am today. I am of his creation. Okay, so I am really in a different space in my life now. I don't envy light-skinned girls like I used to. I used to be jealous, man. Not a hateful jealousy, like I'm gonna kill you because you're lighter, because you're light skinned. I hear stories about light skinned girls would be like, oh my God, they used to beat me up and pull my hair. I wasn't that deep, but I was jealous for a long time. And now it feels so good to be in a space where I'm like, you know what? This is a good place to be. I'm happy with my complexion. I wouldn't change it for anything. And that's that. And as a teacher, I really go out of my way to make sure that my students of all races and backgrounds and ethnicities know that they are worth something and that they are beautiful, period. But I especially go a little out my way, a little extra out of my way for my dark girls, because that was my experience, because I know what my experience was when I was younger. And so I make sure that I let these girls know that they're beautiful. You know, I was the big girl and I was the dark girl growing up. You know, now as an adult, I'm into health and wellness. I still got a little fluff here or there, but that's a whole different video. But overall, I take care of myself in every way. And so that makes a difference in the way I view myself too. And you know, guys really be approaching. You'll be surprised. Like when I was in college, I was shocked at the guys that was coming my way, and they were sincere. It wasn't like they was trying to hit and quit. Like they was legit trying to pursue relationships and stuff. I just wasn't up for it, but it was flattering and it was different. I was like, wow, guys really looking at me. I never knew, you know. So that's my experience. What was your experience? If you are a dark girl, you know, I don't care if you're Black, Indian, whatever, Latina, what was your experience growing up and your complexion and all of that? And is there something extra you'd like to know about my experience? Would you like me to elaborate on something? Just let me know. So I'm going to end this here. I appreciate you so much for making it to the end of this video. Of course, I'd appreciate a like, a comment, or for you to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.